All right, we are live. I'm with my pal B Level. We're going to talk about the Obi Wan situation.
Hello there.
Yeah, not sure if you might have some other Council and Exile pop in. Even if not, maybe me and...
If this is just 20 minutes, maybe just me for today, and then maybe
okay,
next
sure.
time.
Yeah, so it's been making the news with a lot of course, all over the internet.
Kenobi.
With websites and YouTubers talking about it's canceled, and I'm guilty of myself with the canceled videos. I've done those in the past, but I was
cancel Jeremy.
Yeah, that too. Actually,
I know what you mean.
Jorana, I think, but mainly about Rian Johnson's trilogy, which I still think I was right about. I was one of the first ones to call that, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. But we're going to talk about Kathy Kennedy on her way out, and I honestly believe she's being phased out, just the way that big Hollywood elite get like golden parachutes. She's
man, I wasn't prepared for this. I thought we were just talking about the show itself.
Well, Kathy Kennedy is linked to this show,
right?
Because she's been holding it hostage for years. There were so many times they were going to announce it. They finally announced it.
Yeah, because Ewan McGregor had said that he was like he knew about it for like 2 years or something before they ever announced it.
Yeah. Phobic Xeno says, nice, B-Level's back. Hey, he's happy you're back on here.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. We were actually talking a bit earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Star Wars Celebration, the one where they were really going hard with The Last Jedi. It was supposed to be an announcement then.
Yeah.
And she made announcements. I am going to announce a film by the end of the summer, which never happened. So that was one of the first times they messed up with the Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever I hear news about stuff like this, I always take it with a grain of salt. Like, just like the Rian Johnson trilogy, like that's canceled every month, basically. Kathleen Kennedy's gonna get fired every month. So whenever I hear stuff like that, I'm like,
guilty.
I need. I mean, I that's why. I mean, I could say I do delayed content just to wait for all the garbage stuff to get out of the way, but sometimes it just takes me to the end of the week to actually get around to reacting to news. But it is nice. That delay actually helps me filter out the garbage from the truth.
Okay. Well, I did watch an interesting video right before I made this topic, The Den of Nerds, which I've been watching more of lately. He has, Brian Ward is? Making Star
Wars.net?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, he's kind of accurate on predictions, if I'm correct.
Right. So he's close friends with him. So he actually checked in with him to see if there's any validity to these rumors. And what his video was about is that we're going to get Obi-Wan in some form, but there's big disagreements on where to go forward. And I kind of believe this, that they're considering making it a movie again instead of a series.
Is it confirmed it is Obi-Wan between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope? Or is that detail even confirmed? Like,
I think it is. I don't think that is 100% confirmed. Yeah. That's a good point.
I mean, technically, like, I'm not a fan of TCW, but technically, like, they could do some Ewan McGregor Satine Mandalorian flashback. I don't really like that subplot at all, but, there are a lot of people that do. They could do that. Like, he still is young, like, relatively. Mm-hmm. My friend's like, man, he's getting up there in age. I'm like, yeah, but, like, Alec Guinness... like, he's got a lot of time until we get to A New Hope looking Obi-Wan. So we got a lot of time.
There's lots of things they could do. I think it's what everyone wants. And she's been holding it on to him like her only hope at the end of her Lucasfilm President career is my thoughts.
And what's really cool about the Obi-Wan show is it gives the opportunity to fulfill some of George Lucas's actual potential ideas that would have went into his treatments of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
And this might sound kind of like, that might seem kind of weird to say for people that might not know what was in his treatments, but his treatments were primarily had to do with getting into the metaphysical side of the Force with the midichlorians. And as we know, Obi-Wan from the end of Revenge of the Sith, when he learns from Yoda that Qui-Gon has become one with the Force, that's Obi-Wan's spiritual journey as a Jedi to learn how to become one with the Force to the point where he does in A New Hope after his duel with Vader again. So they could really get into that. I think that would really appeal to like the hardcore lore fans, the fans of like the Force that really geek out on that. And to me, like you could make a nice art film about that. But I know that's the thing is they want things to be marketable as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love for Star Wars to be at a place where you could have many offerings and you could have some that go a more artistic direction. Maybe that's what some would argue. Some of the more pro Last Jedi people would argue that was The Last Jedi. But for me, like, have something like as your cash cow or your staple, then have some more that are like more experimental. Kind of like what George Lucas actually wanted to do with his own career was he wanted to get into more experimental art movies versus more pop films. And I think this opportunity could actually give Lucas some leeway to actually be brought back into the fold and direct some stuff. That's just my take. I don't know if they would do that. That's what I would do if I was like in charge of it, but I've offered, like, if Lucasfilm wants to hire me, go ahead.
I just thought of something when we're talking about this. I absolutely think they're going to make it a movie again because one of Kathy Kennedy's goals, and I'm not saying she was wrong to have this goal or not, and with Deborah Chow as the director, to have the first Star Wars film directed by a female in the theaters and what the fans want Obi-Wan would be the way to say, okay, I'm moving on from Lucasfilm President. I think it's just too big of an opportunity for them to miss. And you know how they always say Kathy is meeting with Rian Johnson and D.B. Weiss, then D.B. Weiss and David Benioff planning for the future that never came to fruition. I think they kind of still don't know what the heck they're doing past this, but they know Obi-Wan's a sure thing. So that's
Star Wars in general. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole, like, I don't know, are we talking at all about any of the Old Republic type rumors? Like that kind of ties in a bit. I mean, it's not directly.
They want to do it, but I don't think they're ready yet.
I think they're unsure what era they want to do too, because the whole High Republic era, for as many people, like, this isn't even deep cut EU stuff. This is Phantom Menace. They say the Sith have not been around in a millennium. It's been like 1,000 years since there was a major war in general, not just with the Sith, but a war in general. So obviously with the expanded universe, that's with like the Brotherhood of Darkness and Lord Khan versus General Hoth's Jedi, right? And Darth Bane. And that would be a really interesting. I mean, there's a Darth Bane trilogy. You could just adapt that and make that a really rad trilogy. And I think a lot of people would get down with it. It's darker. It's more adult. And a lot of people said David Benioff and D.B. Weiss would be good with that type of thing. But it sounds like the High Republic era is not at that 1,000 year mark. And it's not farther back when all the Revan stuff and Malak and then Exar Kun before that and all that happened. This is like... the High Republic is like 500 years before Phantom. So if we're going by the EU time between Phantom and the Darth Bane stuff, so you can't have like an epic scale war just because Phantom Menace dictated. That does not occur without screwing with the canon. Now they have been screwing with the canon quite a bit, so they could just do it anyway. But I've had some talks. I've talked with Jacob's Quest about this. I've talked with Dark Shinobi about this. A lot of people, and it's not that the High Republic can't be interesting, but you just can't have a ton of epic scale battles. And the thing the sequel trilogy was really deprived of was those epic battles, except when it was shoehorned at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So I feel like because the sequel trilogy felt so desolate in terms of just how empty it felt. I don't mean like the plot itself, which it kind of is, but in terms of just the planets, I feel like the High Republic era, maybe you'll be showing Coruscant more, which might be a nice to get back into the city a bit. But to see some epic, like 100 Jedi versus 100 Sith, like that action, like everybody loves those SW Tour, that's Star Wars Old Republic, the MMOG. Everybody loves those cinematic trailers, even if you don't like the game. Like people say that's beautiful. Like I don't even like those games. Like I like KOTOR, but I don't like SW Tour. But those cinematics look beautiful, and people want to see those battles adapted to the screen. And you know, and the only thing that there really is leeway with in the High Republic is like some Jedi to go off on a mission. They discover some Sith, but they get killed, and then hence the Jedi don't know the Sith still exist. That's an option, but it's just kind of small ticket, more like TV stuff in my opinion than film. Anyway, that's kind of
good point. You went deep. I honestly, for legit, B-level knows a lot more about lore than I do. I am a fan still, but yeah, you're an expert.
I'm glad. Like, this might be some of the first time some people in your audience might hear me talk about lore actually instead of just fandom. So I appreciate you bringing me on this one.
Oh yeah, I didn't really know where I was going to go with it. I was mainly going to talk about my theories of where the Lucasfilm, but I love getting all your thoughts on. I just don't think. I think there is fans want it. You may want to see it, that type of content too. But I still don't think they know what they're doing and they're ready yet. So they're gonna exploit the situation with Obi Wan and Deborah Chow because she's hot. Everyone says that she's the favorite director of the Mandalorian episodes.
Yeah, she was like, I feel like one thing that people always say Favreau and Filoni, but I'm gonna be real. From my assessment, I didn't hate his episode, but I felt Filoni delivered the most mediocre episode by comparison. Deborah Chow's episodes were the best. So the two names that come to my mind for Mandalorian are Favreau and Chow. So I'm really pumped if she does an Obi-Wan thing. You know who I would also really love for them to have back is Hayden Blackman, who wrote the Force Unleashed video games, because he was a master at fusing the original trilogy with the prequels, like fusing those two eras and also taking it to something unique. So I feel like he could also really pull off something in the future. Council in Exile, we've kind of predicted he could be brought on to Mandalorian for season 2 as a way to introduce him back to Star Wars, because he hasn't been involved since The Force Unleashed got canned in light of continuing TCW, the Clone Wars, which is one of the reasons why I'm like bitter with TCW, because they canceled the Force Unleashed series. But yeah, if they brought Hayden Blackman back, that would be incredible. Like, to me, he was the next Lucas, like, in my mind.
I gotta go play. I have those games. I just never finished them.
Oh yeah,
I still have it for my. I think it plays on my Xbox One. I got to go back and play that because it was really cool. I just never finished it. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was really fun. The first game on Wii, I loved that one. Just like picking stuff up, throwing a lightsaber. Second game on Wii was like really bad though. So play it on PC or Xbox or PlayStation if you want to play the second game. But first game was good on Wii and on Xbox and PC. So.
Family was the next one that I really want to see as a director. I had a speculation about. I was working on a rumor video about Taika Waititi being a director, and everyone's like, "Nah, it's not going to happen." But now he's being rumored too.
Yeah, he was on Mandalorian and dropped some great episodes.
It's interesting that this is coming out right when they're talking about Taika Waititi too.
Yeah, he's on fire right now.
So they're doing that, and they're talking about the Obi-Wan going back to a movie. Now that the rumors were saying canceled though. If they do that, people will lose it on all sides.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a thing that is the Mandalorian, it's united fans, but that was not a guarantee before it came out.
Right.
Like, there are a lot of people who had positive views of Filoni. I have pretty negative views of Filoni, so when I heard he was in that show, I was so worried. But then when Favreau knocked the lore out of the park, like, I always had good views of Favreau because I felt he was on TCW and he voiced Pre Vizsla, who was a Death Watch Mandalorian who had the Darksaber in that show. And in isolation, I thought Pre Vizsla was a really well done character, and I really liked Favreau's contribution. Hearing him speak about Star Wars, he's very passionate about it. So him doing the show and him in the writing chair, I think is awesome. And having Filoni direct some episodes but not write the lore, I think that works. So I really like what Favreau's doing. That, and it's uniting fans right now. But before it came out, that was not a guarantee. They had to prove it. But Kenobi has already united fans without even doing anything yet. Just bringing Ewan McGregor on, almost in a similar way. When they announced Ian McDiarmid for Episode 9, even people that did not like the sequel trilogy and still do not like what they did with Steve Palpatine, they still like part of them is still happy just to hear Ian McDermott's voice again.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So Kenobi, if they can Kenobi, that's just like not nonsense. It's just like baffling if they do that because it's such a win. Like it's such a winning formula.
That's another reason that I didn't see episode 9 yet. I don't want to see Palpatine done wrong, but I don't know. Were you upset by the performance? Not his acting ability, but the way they brought him back in 9. You could talk about spoilers if you want, because
yeah. So for sure. So what I would recommend is I don't have these comics because they haven't done a reprint of them, and they're very rare and they cost a lot on eBay. As Dark Empire, but my friends in State of Star Wars are pretty versed in Dark Empire. They did a State of Star Wars, I think episode 13 of the podcast did a deep dive into Dark Empire, as well as my man Django Fett has done a review. And Dark Empire, the way they set up Palpatine being resurrected is it's way more of a build-up. Like that's a climax. Whereas in Rise of Skywalker, he's just instantly back. There's really no explanation to how he got back. They show some cloning stuff. Yeah. To me, I feel it was just a way of them going, oh crap, Snoke's dead. Kylo Ren's not the big bad. Well, we'll bring back Palpatine because we need someone, because Rey's beaten Kylo twice now. So no one feels like there's high stakes if Kylo's the lead villain. They could have written it differently where Kylo, say Rey hadn't beaten Kylo the first 2 times and she still has to beat him this time. It could have been more of that build-up, just like Luke lost to Vader in Empire. But overall, I felt like it was very cartoon character villainish. I think it was done pretty poorly in a way, very similar to what they've done other legacy characters, where they just they take kind of the way J.J. Abrams approaches Star Wars in general, taking the aesthetic and the elements, but not really getting to the core of the essence of the character or story. So, like even just the idea of Palpatine having kids, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to watch it. You
haven't seen it yet? Okay, that's good. I don't spoil anything major for you.
No. I watched.
I watched his kids, crap. So you know that.
No, I watched a spoiler. I filmed myself watching Grace Randolph's spoiler review.
Okay.
Because I was boycotting it. But I will see it when it comes out on Blu-ray, rental, Redbox, or whatever.
IRL, I was like the only one of my friends to see the movie.
Oh, really?
Everyone else was not really boycotting, but they're just kind of past it, which I get. You know, it's hard to follow too. The sequel trilogy was genuinely hard to follow if you're only watching films and you're not watching YouTube videos to help explain more stuff. If you're just purely watching the films, and it's 2 years apart, you're gonna watch one and be like, wait, what? Like that doesn't make sense with the last one. Maybe it's my memory, but it's actually just the films. So that cohesivity, I think, is going to be really important going forward. And I will say, I think Lucasfilm, when they switched Carrie Hart with their new story group head, I think they're putting more effort into continuity, like they did back with Leland Chi in the old Holocron Keeper days.
That's a good point. There has been a change since she left. She left pretty quietly, and I haven't really followed who the replacement was. So what's the replacement person's name?
So I actually forget what her name was, but I actually read the Rise of Skywalker tie-in book, and I was actually pretty impressed by the amount of sequel trilogy or Disney canon lore I actually knew. Like I wasn't expecting myself to remember all these things, so YouTube really helped there. But you watching, I kind of secondhand through YouTube have learned a lot of the new canon lore over the last few years. So I read the book, and the book cited a ton of stuff from the new canon lore, from like Star Wars Rebels to like the Battlefront 2 2017 campaign to like some of the Aftermath books, Bloodline. Like I don't think any of these are particularly strong stories on their own. I kind of like the Battlefront 2 campaign. I wish it was longer. But it cited so many things in a way. It almost reminded me of the expanded universe, where they're just citing different stories, and each book feels like a nexus of like connectivity with other stories. And it had that level that I hadn't seen in the new canon it previously. And also the book even cited Jedi Fallen Order, which had yet to come out at the time the book came out. So I was impressed by that, and it seems like they're on the ball more for.
They're attempting to blink everything.
Yeah, I think what it is they realize it's a bit extra effort to connect everything, but it makes more invested customers because. For the expanded universe, you'll read books and you'll see all these connections, even from different eras, right? Like, for example, like you'll have, man, I'm blanking out for examples here, but okay, for example, in Timothy Zahn stuff, right? So like, they'll mention Jorah Sabaoth in the Thrawn trilogy, so you want to read Outbound Flight to learn about his original mission circa pre-Clone Wars stuff, right? That's within one author's work, but you'll see stuff cited within like just different books in general, which is pretty cool. Like Darth Bane, for example, Drew Carpathian, they will cite stuff with like from the Knights of the Republic video games, which is pretty cool. So I think that they're doing this more with their books is a huge win. I would like to see that with their comics, because I've read a fair amount of new canon comics, and they're just standalone, like, recycling bin books.
Well, do you think, I thought of an interesting question. Do you think, now that they're trying to link, like, the books and comics and stuff more, do you think the actual films are being vague and on purposefully, so you buy the extra content, or just lack of ability to connect things? Or do you think it's done purposefully so fans have to go reach out to other content to get the whole story, and also because it's Disney, because Disney kind of wants a more general audience type vibe to their films?
So the way I saw it before was that the content in the prequel era, I'm talking about the prequel era because I grew up in that era, it had content that there wasn't time for in the movies to follow, but the movies themselves, you get the point of them without needing to go to it. So, for example, the Clone Wars microseries in 2003 to 04, that covered the war in greater detail and Anakin's fall to the dark side in greater detail. But from episode 2 and 3, you understand all this stuff happens. Like, it's easy to make those connections. Then there's things like subplots that are part of the bigger movie, and it makes you realize how expansive Lucas's Star Wars really was, because there's all these offhanded references or concepts that we see. So for the original trilogy, an example would be Han Solo's smuggler life. There's a lot of that detailed in the EU, and how the trouble he gets into with Jabba's cartel. In the Clone Wars era, a big question is the ethics of having a clone army, and Karen Travis's Republic Commando books are a perfect example of how it delves deep into like, hey, the Jedi have a slave army of clones. How is, like, Anakin wanted to liberate slaves as a kid. Yeah. He thought that's what the Jedi did. Yet they're leading an army that they were born and bred into this. They had no choice. Like, it gets deep on that stuff. Also, great book for Mandalorian lore. If you're into The Mandalorian, read the Republic Commando books, because all the Republic Commandos are trained by Mandalorian mercenaries, and really gets into a lot of the concepts the show displays, which is why I love the show so much. So about the new canon stuff, I feel like it's not so much that it's like, because I don't feel like I think it's what you said. They're trying to prop up the films to make the films seem more cohesive than they actually are, or to make them feel more full. I think they're almost like interjecting stuff that's barely in the films, like the Knights of Ren. Like Knights of Ren, there's all this mythos behind them. It's like not even in the films. Whereas with the clones, you see a lot about the clones through the snippets of the movie, like how they're trained, Camino, what the battles are like. You see their relationships with their Jedi generals. There's a lot you see about them that can be expounded upon. Where Knights of Ren, it's just like they're cool. That's it. But you could say that about Boba Fett.
I knew before I even watched the movie, before I even saw a review or anything, I knew that the Knights of Ren and the Sith Troopers were going to be a letdown, just like the Phasma. That's something they've been doing with the sequel trilogy. They market the hell out of these new characters, and there's nothing there. Even
like, example, if you look at like stuff that Lucas did that was maybe made to be marketable, like pod racers or Ewoks, they also serve a function in the story. Right. Whereas these other things are just props,
cosmetic, and nothing else.
Yeah, like I know people
no depth.
they say, oh, Boba Fett looks cool, but like Boba Fett, he is the guy who like brings Han to Jabba. He's that connection.
Yeah. He had a purpose.
So he's important.
Yeah, there's a lot of filler characters in there that have served no purpose, and that's why the toys don't sell really.
Yeah,
they're just there. They're there, but that's about it.
Yeah. And it is a shame. Like we discussed on the stream when I was on with Jango Fett last week, was Finn. He had a really interesting potential arc, but if you actually think hard, his arc pretty much ends when he meets Rey. Before that, like his story about being a stormtrooper and defecting, like that was the most interesting part.
That was a strong start to the movies. Like,
yeah, and it made me into The Force Awakens when I first saw it. I'm like, this is interesting, and then it just dissipates.
Big missed opportunity there.
Establish something cool with, they just evaporate.
Well, see, they with doing that, with the reveal of, oh, we're going to get a stormtrooper take off his helmet, and he's going to be actual. You're going to get. It's not just going to be cannon fodder or a dopey shooter. And then what do they go back at the end of the trilogy? They're just lame stormtroopers again.
Yeah, and it's your way to change your perception about looking at stormtroopers. Going, wait, these are people too.
Right?
How do they fall into this line where they like Finn bred as a not quite like a clone, but bred pretty much since he was a child. Not bred, but like groomed since he was a child to be a soldier. And it's an awesome chance for an ethical question that just doesn't really get expanded upon.
Well, after you've seen the Rise of Skywalker, after seeing the sequel trilogy complete, are stormtroopers still a joke again?
Yeah, I mean, they're still just like basically droids.
Yeah. So that setup in The Force Awakens is like, it set it up where we can get something more complex. Maybe you actually fear them. Like that first scene where you're like, oh, they might actually be something to be feared. And then they still go back to Three Stooges.
You know the They Can Fly Now scene?
Yeah, I've seen that clip. Yeah.
You know, the more at first I was kind of like, this is overblown. This is just like people trying to look for stuff to nitpick. But the more I think about it, what you brought up is a good point. That, like, for example, the way Dark Troopers look in, like, I don't know, like a Star Wars video game, like Empire at War, Forces of Corruption, like they look menacing. So it is an opportunity to, if you make them more menacing, to feel like more of a threat to our protagonists and feel like they really are on the run from this like uber powerful, you know, militia that is, or giant militia that is the First Order.
Yeah, that's where Finn is one of my biggest letdowns the whole trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, you know the thing about, okay, spoilers, 10-second warning for spoilers for Rise of Skywalker. You know the reveal about Finn, like mild reveal?
No. What?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Say it?
Yeah, okay. I don't care.
We saw Grace Randolph's review, so I assume like most big things have been revealed. Finn is Force sensitive.
Oh, okay. I think
does show that. Honestly, that's one thing that I didn't really believe about what JJ said. JJ said the thing Finn wanted to tell Rey in the quicksand was he was Force sensitive. Like, no, he was telling her he was into her. Like, that was clear. I mean, you don't say, hey, we're swimming in quicksand, I have something to tell you. Then you sink and you realize you live. And they're like, what was it? It's like, oh, I can't tell you now. It's like, you don't say that if you're Force sensitive. You say that if you have feelings for someone.
Right.
So I don't buy what JJ said. But I do think in the film, there is the, I think JJ just, he didn't say that because he didn't want to start a shipping war between all the shippers. He just wanted to focus on the Force. So I'll give JJ points for some savviness there. But Finn being Force sensitive, it's like, he, you know, in the first film, he's holding the lightsaber. It was like, it was alluded to he might become a Jedi. Imagine this, Finn, in the final film. Remember in the first film, he sees Kylo Ren, he's shaking in his boots. Like, he's afraid of Kylo Ren.
Right.
Final film, he's a full-out Jedi dueling Ren. Then Rey is dueling Palpatine or Snoke or whoever. That would be pretty cool. Why not make them both Jedi? You know what I mean? If you want to ship them together, their kid could be a Jedi, then bam, you got another trilogy. You know what I'm saying? Like, this trilogy didn't really leave much in the way of, like, I don't know, interest in the future after that point. So I think it's natural that we're going to go to some other backward.
I do think, I'm going to end the stream soon, but let's talk about the future. Do you think in like 10 years down the line, people are going to look at this trilogy fondly?
Yeah, I think people are going to look at it as the, man, someone said it on stream last week, but as the, the experimental time for Disney. Like they were finding their footing, trying to find what works. And I think the main message Disney's learned in the last few years is that you have to try. You can't just throw out Star Wars and get people to like it, or else it's slowly going to decline. And we're seeing it slowly on the upswing again with their recent projects, with Mandalorian, Fallen Order. A lot of people are going to like TCW season 7. I know I won't, but whatever, it is what it is.
I'm getting ready to watch that next month.
They're trying, right? So I think if they keep putting effort in, man, I know it's going to be difficult for people to forgive this trilogy, but if they're just rocking stuff in the other era, like if the stuff from other eras is just solid material, I think people would just be like, oh, whatever. Like some people might not get over their favorites, like Luke or Han, but I think people like me who have appreciated non-film characters like EU characters, when you see something like Mandalorian and just really getting into that, if they keep doing offerings like that, I think it can drown out the sequel trilogy. I know that sounds crazy, but again, they got the resources. They're going to make a lot of material in the next 10, 15 years, you know?
See, I think in 10 years, this is going to be the people are going to love this and want Rey back and a new sequel trilogy to this. And it mainly, it's just replaced the originals. Not in my eyes, but in newer generations. All they've done is replace characters with new ones.
Right. See, I think one interesting thing they could have done actually is when Disney purchased Star Wars, did a hard reboot and remade kind of the original trilogy. I'm not saying I'm for this, but I'm saying if you think about it, it makes more sense to do a hard reboot than a soft reboot where you remake the movie within the same timeline. Like that feels like if you were to say that on paper.
Well, they wanted to exploit the box office with having those old characters while still killing them off. So they wanted it both ways. They got it. They got their box office. I did want to check to see where the box office. It is kind of a disappointment. It is past $1 billion worldwide.
It's lower than for sure.
1 billion,
I
28
million. What they should have done if they were using the older actors, do something in line with Lucas's treatments or the expanded universe, something unique. But if you want to redo the original trilogy, hard reboot, we have Rey Skywalker from the start and, friends, and they do their thing. And maybe Kylo Ren's this fallen Jedi who became a Sith, right? I think that's more the direction to go. And I honestly think it would have been more compelling, to be honest, than just soft reboot. They were trying to play it safe. Well, also, it's like what you're saying. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. It just never really works out that way.
Right. Okay, so I think I'm going to end it here. I enjoyed our discussion. I like to do these quick streams, like 20, 30 minutes, 35 minutes.
We covered a lot of topics actually in that time.
Yeah. Are you planning anything soon that you want to tell the people in the chat or?
Got a video coming out in 10 minutes on my channel. So if you want to. In terms of big stuff though, we were gonna review TCW, like the Clone Wars, before the season 7 comes out, but I honestly think we don't have enough time to do the whole thing, so we might maybe do some smaller videos on it.
Speaking of Obi-Wan, did you watch the Obi Wan fan film?
Not yet.
You should watch it. It's on YouTube right now. I like it. It's pretty good.
All right, cool. I'll check it out.
It's like 18 minutes.
Nice.
So I would love if you guys will do that in the future, let me know, and I would love to come see it, react to it.
All right, man.
I did a full reaction and I didn't get flagged, so because it's fan made, you could do that too.
That's great when it works out that way.
All right, so goodbye everyone. I'm going to end it now. I'll probably do a later. I'm thinking about doing something with Matt Jarbo tonight too, late night. So I have to see if that works out. Talking about all this craziness. So
man, I gotta say, for Phantom Alliance, I know that's not a thing, or it's not really, you're more Gray Order now, but we should have just done stuff like this from the start, just random lore streams.
Yeah.
Anyway, better late than never, right?
Yeah. All right.
Catch you later, brother.
Bye, everyone. All right, I'm ending it now.